I'm going to show you something a little bit different today. I had a birthday about a month ago, and one of my kids gave me this really cool gift. Now, I've seen these before, and I heard about this company, Rocker. They make good stuff, but I've never put one of these things together before. And when she gave me this, I said, wow, that's really cool. I was really happy, and I was looking forward to putting it together. I'm going to show you how this thing goes. It's going to be kind of a long video, and you can just skip forward and see various parts of putting it together, and you can see the whole thing at the end. Now, Monica isn't really my daughter. In fact, we don't have any kids of our own, but we've raised multiple children, and it's always been kind of a living at aunt and uncle's place sort of way. And Monica and her brother Alex, we had them since they were, I think she was 7 when she moved in with us, and we had her for about 5 years. And therefore, we raised them when they were tweens. It was really neat because I got to teach them how to ride their bikes, taught them how to swim. And since I don't have any kids of my own, it was really special to be able to spend time with children and learn about raising kids, teach them stuff, do homework with them, all that stuff that I would have done if we had kids of our own. And the other day, she came by to drop off her own kid, and she came with this present, and she gave this to me. I said, wow, what a cool thing. And I've been looking forward to putting it together ever since then. I wanted to make a video so I could show it to her so she could see this thing being put together. It's not that hard. You go through and they got some really nice instructions, and all the parts are numbered on those little laser cut wooden pieces. And each one is like A, B, C, D, and E, the sheets. And you just grab like A32 or something. And these are parts of the boiler I'm grabbing right now. And you don't even need an X-Acto knife or anything. It's all so perfectly cut that you just pop these little pieces out. And probably the hardest part is that all the little ends, these little nubs, you have to fit them in the holes just right, and it takes a little bit of pressure. You'll find out that it's not really that easy to get it in there. You feel like you're going to damage something, but it's all made perfectly, so you're not going to break anything if you're real careful. I wouldn't take all the parts out at the beginning. No. You take them out as you need them. And you slowly put together the various assemblies and then eventually put the whole thing together. And here I am starting to put the boiler together. So as I was saying, Monica she's a grown-up now, and she's got a little boy of her own. And she brings him by her house a few times a week. And my wife, Janilzy, loves him more than the day is long. She will spend as much time, it doesn't matter how much it exhausts her to be around a 2-year-old, but she'll spend as much time as she can with that little boy. We take him to church with us every week, and she just will come up with any excuse to have him come around that she can. So it's really neat because we get to see Monica more often because of that. She's different. She's not the same as she was when she was a little girl. And when she and her brother became teenagers, they moved out. And just like teenagers, they really didn't want to have that much contact with us. I'm sure with their parents as well. It's just, that's natural when you're a teenager. Who wanted to be around the people that were raising them when they were teenagers? I certainly didn't. And I think teenagers since the beginning of creation have been the same way. But in the past few years, Monica's changed a lot, and it's really neat to see as she gets older and she gets more mature. And I'm sure the same thing's going on with Alex. I don't see him that much. Every time I run into him from one occasion or the other, it is really neat to talk to a grown man who was once a little boy. And it's neat, again, to see these people that we had some impact on, and we just hope it was a positive one. Not the only kids that we've raised. We have another 2 children who we raised, and they're in their 30s right now. In fact, Janelle, she still lives here. And one of these days, I'm going to have to change the locks and figure that one out. But for now, she's in her 30s and still lives here. She's teaching kids, and she loves what she does. It's really hard to buy birthday gifts for somebody like me. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there like this. I got 1,000 hobbies, and I'll tell you, if I need a new widget for a hobby, I search it out, find the one I want, and I buy it. It's really hard for somebody to choose something and select it for like a hobbyist paraphernalia. Everything down to even that little pocket knife is very specific to the one that I wanted. And so if somebody gave me a pocket knife, I wouldn't turn it down, but it's not quite the same as that particular one that I chose because it was a style I wanted. And I'm sure there's a lot of you like that. Normally, this isn't an issue because I fully believe that Christmas and birthday gifts are all about children. I'm really not into giving gifts to adults. But who's going to say no if somebody like Monica says, "Oh, I want to give you a birthday gift"? And she actually, on her own, found something that just meshed absolutely perfect with my personality. And it just made me really happy. And so I wanted to spend some time putting this thing together and to be able to show the process and let her see that it was important to me. And I'm going to have to put this in a place where my grandchild won't be able to get to it because who knows what he's going to do with it. It's a very delicate little model, but it's a lot of fun to go through this process. Now, as I alluded to before, it can be quite fiddly. You can see these little nubs that I have to fit the parts on. Here I'm putting the different wheels on. Now this thing is like a map. It's like folding a map. There's like 20 pages to this. But I was able to make do and get to the proper steps I needed for each part of the way. Still working on all these various wheels. Now, as I was saying, this thing is really a complicated model for somebody to put together. It says on the outside for ages 14 and up, and they're kind of their warning is a little bit stern, and I totally would agree with that. I wouldn't give one of these to a kid that was younger than 14. In fact, I wouldn't give this as a gift to somebody who was not very diligent. Like 14-year-old me would have been the wrong kid to receive this as a gift. I would have never gotten around to putting it together, or I would have broken some of these little nubs off and just given up in disgust and thrown it across the room or something. I just didn't have the patience at that age. These days, I've got a little bit more patience. I guess it comes with getting old and becoming a graybeard. But even still, there's a couple places here where little pieces broke off. I don't think it's possible to put this thing together without having a couple of the little nubs break off. But you can't see where they are, so I didn't glue it or anything like that. I just left the little nubs where they fell. continue popping these little parts out, matching them up, looking at the instructions. Where does this one go? Where does that one go? And for the most part, they just slide into slots, and it's always a tight fit. You got to be careful to get proper back pressure with your other hand as you're trying to jam these parts together. Otherwise, you're going to end up breaking one of the wooden pieces that you're pressing against. You gotta be careful you're following the instructions and putting all the printed parts facing the right direction. Notice how there's little laser cut images on a lot of these things. If you don't put those facing the right way, you're gonna have like the boiler gauges facing inside the boiler or something. So you have to be careful. Look at this, like there were little lines on this piece. It's got like steps and stuff like that. Yeah, careful, careful. There it is. These little gears in the middle. I think one of those might have a crack in the side. I'm not going to tell anybody though. If you look inside with a flashlight, you might be able to see the one that has a little crack in it. Now this was a bit of a scary thing. You see this piece that I'm taking out? That's flexible because the laser cut, they managed to make all these little slots in it. And so it flexes. But it's a bit of a hairy process, folding that thing around the curve of the boiler. Yeah, and trying to get all the little tabs to fit in correctly was a bit of a challenge. Yeah, there it is. And I neatly did it off camera so you didn't see all the fussing and fighting I had to go through to get that to fit. How does this part go? Interesting. Oh, I see. Yeah, we do that. All right, there it is. I'll put that little piece on the top. It fell off about 5 times as I was putting this together, and I had to keep sticking it back on. Now those 2 parts with the wheels that I put together at the very beginning, now I know where they go. They fit on the outside here. I had to be kind of careful to use a knife blade to kind of get in there and do some back pressure on the little nubs that are in there in order to keep them, the little stumps that were used to hold them together, to keep them from going through the back side when I later put the valve bodies on these. We'll see that later on. I'll bring that up again when it happens. As I'm watching this thing, I'm just thinking, oh, would I have actually had the patience to do this at, say, 15? I don't think so. I did not have patience at that age. Curiosity, I did have. Patience, no. So this is what I was talking about. You see how we've got these valves on the side of the steam engine there? And the linkages that go to the wheels. There's little stumps that were holding the wheels together, and I had to make sure that they were still sticking out and didn't push them all the way through the other side. A little bit of sanding here or there and everywhere was needed to get things to fit, mostly on these little square parts here so that they would fit in the sides like that. Looks like we're in the home stretch. It's a thing of beauty. All right, and another little nub. Oh, uh-oh, tragedy. This is actually from part of the cow catcher. And that broke off, and fortunately it was from inside and nobody will ever see it. So to prevent another tragedy, I sanded this other part on the back before trying to fit it through this slot. Pretty much everything is a press fit, which is not necessarily good when you're dealing with very fragile parts. This is all made out of, it's a kind of plywood, and it's very resilient. But I wouldn't put too much pressure on it because these little pieces will break off. All right, now we've got this other little piece. This is going to go on the top. Put in, I think that's the whistle I'm installing right now. And this assembly, it looks like probably a sand dome, and then there is the smokestack. Maybe the bell, I don't know. Yeah, stand dome, bell, smokestack. And there's a couple little pieces that go on the side. There we go. Those little pipes on the side are done. I believe this is it. Now we're going to do the tender, and I'm going to do that pretty quickly. Put these little pieces together. You see that little U shape? That's going to go onto the hook that we put on the locomotive. More wheels. Pop everything out. Sometimes there was a little tiny bit of flash on the edges, and I either use the knife blade to just trim it, or I would run it on that little square of sandpaper they give you. Very carefully squeeze these things together. And put our little wheels on it. Always a little stack of two. And there we go. It looks like I've got the base ready. Now let's take a look at the sides. And we got the front and the back. And there were little pieces that I put on those. And here's the sides. And first time around when I did this, I got it on the wrong way. And this is actually the second attempt when I put it on the right way. There we go. Get the other side. There we go. Pop that in place. And there it is, like magic. Some additional parts have been added with this little flippy door thing. And it's all but done. These little things go on the end. I'm not sure what that is, but it was a bit of a challenge, and I think one of those nubs might have cracked as I was squeezing it in place, but it still looks good. So, and this is the last step. I'm putting these little tiny ladders on each corner of the tender. Just kind of wiggle, 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 and those little nubs go into place. It's done. And there it is. Like I said earlier, I'm going to have to be very careful about where I put this thing. I can't let a small child get their hands on it. It's going to last about 2 seconds in the hand of a 2-year-old. And where am I going to keep it? I'm going to put it alongside my regular steam engines. Look at that. And now I'll send a link to this video to Monica so she can see the birthday gift. Thanks, Monica. This was really cool. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for watching.